So, as I was saying, as one does, um, I've done a lot over the years. I've got a good like 20 credits or whatever under my belt. I've done a lot more than that. There's a lot of things that I won't be able to list and so on, like I've said before. And there's a lot that is not visible on the public's view of IMDb that is listed on the IMDb Pro and in my IMDb resume. I will say, when it comes to music and everything that I grew up as a musician, I grew up as a guitar player and a singer, and how things manifest before you. Like I've done a lot, which ultimately surrounds the way I am, the way I grew up. You can see how things manifest before your eyes. I'll give you some examples. Okay. I grew up a huge party boy and all about music. And I went on to do theater, just for an example of, I did Dark Side of the Moon for Pink Floyd in Hollywood. I love Pink Floyd. I will say for Pink Floyd, one of my favorite albums. Dark Side of the Moon has a very special place in my heart because I got to play Hercules. Originally, the name given to me for that particular role was Adam, being Adam and Eve. And so, I mean, like, that's pretty big. But one of my favorite Pink Floyd albums has always been A Momentary Lapse of Reason. Now, other things along the way that, I can show you where my life is manifested before my eyes. I used to watch Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And later on in life in 2009, I got to work with Catch 21 and Alfonso. I think Alfonso is so amazing. He's a really good singer, he's a good dancer, and he's a really nice guy. I don't really know too much about Will other than from what other people who have worked with him, and I know I've seen their credits, they have, and that's not a lie. We won't go into that. The singing bee. I was always so against country music, but being raised in the bar slash restaurant, I was very well aware of a lot of country songs, like from Alabama and Elvira, which is now one of my connections on LinkedIn. The one of the singers for the Oak Ridge, or yeah. So I'm really right now. I'm thinking about Winona and her mom, and Grandpa. Tell me about the good old days. Don't sue me for doing that. Um, please, because you're not gonna get anything. You can sue me all you want, dude. But I wasn't really a big fan of country music. But I even did the singing bee. I also spent a lot of time before getting into Hollywood, and I feel like I have an eyelash in my eye coming out. One of the blessings of wearing contacts for years, your eyes become sensitive. Um, the singing bee. I had watched the TV show Reba, and I thought Barbara Jean, you know, I thought she was fantastic. I mean, you could see that that girl, Melissa Peterman, is such a great actress. She was the host at the time I was on the show. And I got to yell out, I love you, Barbara Jean. Yeah, it was sweet. So, with some other examples, how life manifests before you. Um, Before I left, it was a big thing with CSI. Like there would be CSI is coming on, so there would be a dinner for the night, and you know how you do. You sit down with popcorn and watch your movies, right? Well, we'd have our dinner and we'd all sit down and watch it, and it was great. So in 2010, I actually was on an episode of CSI. And here we go with music again. Rascal Flatts is the one that did the casting, and I was cast as, the hot, model and hot male model with Rascal Flatts. And I just think that's great. Um, so I also grew up huge fan watching Married with Children. And I had always thought, I'd love to one day work with, and I never even had any thoughts of like, I'm going to be an actor in Hollywood. My brain just didn't go there. But yet I kept having all these little thoughts and all these little sayings and everything. Like, I'd love to one day work with her. I'd love to meet her, whatever, right? Excuse me. So in 2011, I got to be in Christina Applegate's show Up All Night. I love Christina. Oh, that little potty mouth. Oh, she's so sweet. You know, tons of little examples I can show you along the way. Like I was always very well aware of the Waltons. I was born in the 70s. I was born in 77. So you can't help but to know who the Waltons are. And I got to work, in Gabe the Cupid Dog as head of the magazine staff. And that was in 2012. And I also was a big fan of Charmed, because I was very much so and still am into the arts, you know. Um, Now in 2012, now I didn't grow up a lifelong fan of Andrew WK, which I love that dude. He's so cool. I mean, he wasn't like, Ozzy Osbourne, where I was born in the 70s and he was famous way back before I was born, kind of deal, But I was pretty big into, let's party hard. Yeah. And later on, 2012, I got to do Let's Big Happy with Math the Band, there's music again for you, and with Andrew WK, and I got to hang out with him all day. And I just love that dude. And I do want to say for a lot of you that are out there, and I've heard it a lot with him, that dude looks so grubby, like he doesn't shower or anything, and his hair looks so stringy and oily and greasy, and he's clean, dude. He's really clean. Some of the other people I've worked with along the way are not. And if you look up on YouTube, you can see videos and it points out some names of who's not. And it's like, whoa, are you sure? Because you can afford a whole lot more shampoo and conditioner than I ever could. Why aren't you using that? But no, he's clean. And he smells good too. And like, he wasn't even wearing cologne. Like, he smells good. Sorry, that's a little bit of a side note. Um, I've done a lot, and I'm really grateful. I can't wait to do some more. I don't really want to talk about bad experiences. I've had a couple. I will say some of the industry and all of you as fans just need to lighten up a little bit when it comes to celebrities because it's harder than you think. And fans are hard, but those in power are a little harder. Like I did what ultimately ended up being into like 50 something episodes for Comics Unleashed. And that guy's not very nice. Now, and I'll just stop right there. My rings are dented. Thanks. So, I don't really want to have any more bad experiences, but I'm willing to do all kinds of stuff. I want to be more mindful of what I do ultimately because I understand not only have I been doing things and building fans along the way, I'm on the D list. What does that mean? Well, that means you have a sense of platform and you can use it for good. You can use your voice. You know what I mean? More so than so and so from so and so town. You know what I mean? Like you are viewed and you are heard more so. And I want to ultimately take these 11 years and being on the D list, make it grow. Help me out, you know. I want to be mindful of what I do in the future. But like I've said, there's a lot of moments where, like with I'm Here with Spike Jones, I did that in 2010. And that is what got me into Time Magazine. And I love you, Spike. Like he on the stage, and I'm trying to be a good, proper little boy, you know. Like he's on the stage pointing at me, talking about me and everything. Like I knew he was happy with how I was doing. You know, I wasn't out there like, oh, this sucks, and now we gotta go back in there. You know, no, I was like right there. You know, when which I think is important for everyone that wants to be in Hollywood. Just for a little side note, because my brain has me running all over, right? Um, you when they say quiet on the set, don't be one of those people that are running your mouth and laughing and having a good time because you're there and no, you need to shut up when they say quiet on the set because it really does affect the microphones and everything. When they say turn your phones off, they mean it turn your phone off because the frequencies and maybe it'll evolve over time, you don't know, but it will affect the recordings. So you always want to be on your best behavior. You want to, you know, when they say, okay, everyone, we need you back in there in 5 minutes. If you want to have any sort of a life in Hollywood, get your butt back in there in 1 minute. And if you have to be the first one standing there waiting for everyone else to come back in on their casual little time, you know, get in there. Don't argue, shut your mouth, and be camera ready. With camera ready, a lot of you know that I don't even have eyeliner on at this point right now, and I should. You need to be camera ready. When they say, you know, you need to show up, don't show up there like, oh yeah, there's, you know, the makeup staff on set, you know, wardrobe on set, and I can just show up my hair in a bun and go, you know. No. You know how you're supposed to look, you know what you're supposed to do, you know you need to show up as much so as camera ready as possible. Now, whether they change that for you is all on them. But the more camera ready you can show up, the better. It reflects on you. And if you ever want to have any sense of career in Hollywood, you need to be as camera ready and right there. When they say get there in 5 minutes, you need to be there in one. Take these little tidbits of advice because it's not just talking all about my life and how I've been able to have things manifest before me, you know, and where I can look back and say, wow, that transpired into what I'm doing now. And here's an example of when I was doing this or saying that or watching this, and look what it did for me now, you know. Um, any advice I can give along the way, you know, my life is about giving back. Take some advice, dude. So I think I'm going to put this, you know, which is now 2 episodes here of, you know, I'm just going to call it an actor's life for me. Because I really do feel I am Pinocchio. And my best friend is Jiminy. And I collect Jiminy. Here's one of them. I've shown you in pictures before. This is one of them. This one, if I didn't sleep with him, you know, I'm 40 and I sleep with the Jiminy, right? I've actually seen this one on eBay going for 700 bucks. Yeah, my bad. But I love Jiminy, I always have. Um, an actor's life for me. There's another example of how little things along the way, things you do as a child, things you say as a child, on out growing up, how it will shape your future. So I'm going to put this in the playlist, both of these here, in the God Bless Freemasonry series, because it's all about the quantum mechanics of enlightenment and Freemasonry. And I'm, trying to give you examples of my own life so that you can take a look at your life and see how things have evolved into being your life. And I'm not done. Like, yeah, I still have so much more acting to do. I grew up with not knowing why. Like, I didn't know I'm going to be an actor in my life. Like I've said, I grew up a musician and I always wanted to be the quote unquote god on guitar. But I grew up even telling my friends that I was, playing with out in the yard or whatever, that, why? I don't know. I am just so, like, who would do that sort of thing? You know what I mean? But, like, if it came out of me, what I was saying as a child on up is I need to find the true love of my life before I'm famous. Because after I'm famous, I'm not really going to know who's real and who's not. Why would a child say that sort of thing? Because ultimately, our source, our creator, the one that makes our blood pump, our brains function, our thoughts come into being. I'm getting a phone call and I don't know if this is stopped, so I'm going to stop it and just make a part 3.